Yes. You have tuned in to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Cook Hall. Today's podcast is brought to you by Faith versus Fear, Breaking Family Ties, which can be found and available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com. This podcast is designed with you in mind to remind you that you can always click that reset button and start all over again. It's never too late to be great. So now I want you to sit back. I want you to relax. I want you to clear your mind. Take in that deep breath. Prepare yourself for change as we listen in on Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Cook Hall. Let's go. Yes. Welcome to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Cook Hall. Listen, y'all. We have made it to 2023. Did you hear what I said? 2023. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful to be able to say 2023. We are still doing this. We are still here. And I am still able, thank God, to be able to do what I love to do. And that's come on here and share some tips and some tools with you all that will assist you in becoming a better you. Because that's what Renewed Mind Revolution podcast is all about. And let me tell you guys, it is always, I've been saying this for several years now, so you know I mean it. It is always my honor. It is always my pleasure to be able to come on, share some love, share some tips, share some tools, share some phenomenal guests that we've been having these past couple of years that will be able to inspire, encourage, empower you. I mean, we've been having a great time, and let me tell you something. 2023 is only going to get better. How do I know? Because God is in it. But also how I know is because I've already got some guests lined up for you guys, and these individuals are coming with some wonderful testimonies and wonderful ministries and wonderful work. You know how we do it. We bring entrepreneurs on here. We bring people who are gifted and talented and who do not mind sharing that information with someone else. That's what makes me excited when I find people who have, learned from something and they're not selfish about it. They're not charging you $2,000. They literally want to share with you so you too can overcome. You too can be stronger. You too can, be the individual that you are designed to be a blessing to someone else. That's what it is. We are blessed to be a blessing to someone else. And so when God has given us the opportunity to come out of something, it's not that we hold it to ourselves or be selfish, but that we share it with someone else. And so that's what I try to do on a regular basis. And I'm just so glad, you guys, that we are here. This is our first podcast of 2023. And just to be able to say it, just to be able to be here again, is just a blessing. Hope you guys have had a wonderful holiday season. We did release a holiday podcast to encourage you guys, to strengthen you guys, to get you over that holiday hump. We all have it, we talked about it and we shared what we could, tips and tools regarding how you can get through the holiday blues. So always refer to that no matter what time of the year it is, because if you have a low moment, that podcast will help you to get back up again and begin to encourage yourself and let you know, hey, you can win, you can do this, you can overcome, you can succeed. It seems like the darkest moment in your life, but it's not the end. And that's what's so awesome about this process we call life, is that sometimes it literally feels like this is your darkest moment and there is no way in the world that you're coming out of it. I've been there, so I'm able to tell you that I get it. And let me tell you something. You will have multiple moments like that. That's what's almost comical. Because each moment you feel as if, okay, this is the darkest moment. No, 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 no. This is the darkest, this is the toughest moment. But the truth of the matter is, this is just the journey. This is just life. This is just a process. And my job here is just to encourage you and to remind you that regardless of how low you go or how dark it seems to you, that it will brighten up, it will clear up. The scriptures even tells us that weeping may endure for a night, but joy will come in the morning. And we don't mean like just a day, because some people get really frustrated and they say, wait a minute, you said in the morning, and they think like just a day of issues. And then when it doesn't change overnight, they feel like, okay, this is wrong. No, what it means that no matter how dark it is, no matter how long you're going through something, trust and believe it will change. Trust and believe the sun will come out. Trust and believe it won't rain always. The sun is going to shine. The sun will come out. And so that's what we're here just to remind you about that. Now, let me get to the core of what I want to share with you guys. This message will not be very long for the first podcast, but I did want to share something with you guys. I was doing this reading, and in this reading, this particular word popped out at me. And so the more I looked at this word and began to really study this word, I felt that this word would be very beneficial for those who listen to this podcast, okay? So I want to share this word with you, and it's called reverie. Reverie. Let me spell that for you, for those who might not be familiar with this word. Reverie. 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 And that clearly just means a state of being pleasantly lost in one's thoughts, a daydream. Pleasantly lost in one's thoughts, a daydream. Lost in your present positive thoughts. Okay, thinking of pleasant things as if you are dreaming. I want to talk about that word today because on this podcast, we talk often about thoughts and how powerful they are. And this particular word is talking about being pleasantly lost in your own thoughts, right? And in your own daydream. Now, before I continue to tackle that, let me just say, growing up, we were kind of taught that daydreaming, was a bad thing. You're not supposed to daydream. If your parent caught you just staring off daydreaming, they would tap you and say, what are you doing? Cut that out. And they literally would say, this is just my experience. I literally heard a lot of people say that, the enemy, the devil, okay, will come into your thoughts when you are just daydreaming, when you are just lost in those thoughts like that, right? But I want to propose something different to you today, okay? Because what I've learned over the years of me walking this earth and me having a lot of experience with certain things, I learned that a lot of creative people get lost in their thoughts. Do you hear what I'm saying? In a positive way. In order for me to sit down and propose a story or a book, the first thing I do is get lost in my thoughts. Before my pen hit a paper, before my fingers hit the keyboard, the first thing I'm doing is thinking. You might catch me sitting and just staring off. And when I'm doing that, I am creating with my imagination. I'm creating what I want to talk about, what I want to share. It's like a good download, right? Musicians, I have quite a few talented musicians in my family, and they will say the same thing. They get lost in this creative flow of just thinking, right? This imagination of thinking, right? And so I want to take away, just hear me this moment, the negative understanding, you know, regarding imagination, your thoughts, and just allowing yourself to sit back and just, think in a good way, right? I want to take that misunderstanding off because it can be used in a positive way, especially if you're a creative person. So this state of mind of reverie is you being pleasantly lost. Now you don't want to do this when you're driving, you don't want to do this even when you're cooking because you might burn something, right? But if you take a time aside and you are taking this moment and you're just pleasantly thinking of something good. One of the examples were a person who might be on the beach on vacation, right? And pleasantly thinking of the fact that maybe they never have to leave this beach again and they don't have to go back to work. They do not have to, go back to society, but they're just thinking that this moment will last forever. Now, realistically, it cannot happen because they will probably have to go to work and take care of their responsibilities. But for that moment, the creativeness of thinking that I can sit here and enjoy this moment to that magnitude is really an awesome ability to do. And just speaking from a person who clearly overthinks and clearly, do too much of what I shouldn't do when it comes to thinking process. This is some type of enjoyment that I rarely had because once again, to stare off or to daydream or to be in a state of reverie was not accepted or received in a positive manner. It was accepted and received in a negative way. You cannot stare off like that. You cannot daydream. You cannot just be allowing your thoughts to just, create scenarios, beautiful scenarios. It doesn't matter. Just the fact that you're sitting there being what they call idle-minded. Idle-minded. But it's not idle because you're creating. You're creating this wonderful experience. Now you can't get too far into that because people go into something that I'm not walking into. But I'm talking about this creativity of a positive environment. And the reason I'm doing that, the reason I'm saying that, because remember we talk about thoughts a lot in this podcast, on this podcast. The reason I'm saying this is because of this. The average person has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. 80% of those thoughts were negative thoughts, are negative thoughts. Okay? And 95% were exactly the same repetitive thoughts as it was the day before. Do you hear what I'm saying? Let's quote those stats again because they're important. You have 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of thoughts. That's a lot going on in our heads. A lot. Okay? But more than half, 80%, you left with a small 20%. 80% were negative. 80% were negative. And 95% were just repetitive thoughts from the day before. Okay. So this tells me this. Number one, there's a lot of negative thinking going on out there. Okay. Number two, you're going to think anyway. We're going to think. We're going to create scenarios in our minds anyway. We're going to create situations, circumstances, the downfalls. We're going to create these things in our mind anyway. right? But the problem is we're concentrating on obviously more negative than we are on pleasant, getting lost in pleasant thoughts, daydreaming and pleasant thoughts. What if instead of focusing on yesterday's problems, the same thing that was bothering you from yesterday, bringing it in on today, messing up today too. Yesterday it was horrible. Now today gonna be horrible. Then guess what? The next day is gonna be the same thing because I'm still focusing on the negative. What happens if I shift that and begin to be creative? Instead of me thinking of the constant what ifs, we did several podcasts on those what if. Instead of me constantly saying the what if the negative, what if this happens, what if it doesn't work, what if it fails, what if I get sick, what if I go broke, what if my children get sick, what if my husband gets sick, what if we get a car accident, what if I lose my home, just what if, and not only sometimes are we thinking it, but we're saying it, right? So instead of doing that, what if we say to ourselves, what if it works out? What if I accomplish what I'm called to do? What if, I get what I need and I am going to be provided for? What if I get that promotion? What if I get that grant? What if I get that position? What if the doctor gives me a good report and not a negative report? Like, why can't we work hard on putting that in our scenarios, in our thinking process? Let's be intentional in 2023. You guys, I have made up in my mind in 2023 things just was not going to be the same. It wasn't no, vow or, all these things that people do for the end of the year. It was none of those type of things. It was just a promise to me. It was a promise before God because I need it. I deserve it. I want it. I'm going after it, right? And it was just the fact that I was no longer going to put myself in these places, in these situations, in these environments that I'm doing intentionally, right? I'm just doing it. I'm no longer doing that. I'm changing the narrative. I am not going to allow, it's going to come, these fears, these thoughts, these concerns, these whatever, they're going to come. But what I'm not going to do is no longer embrace them and entertain them. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not going to just ride on the train of the what if train. I'm not going to do it. I've done it for so many years. And it has created this monster. It has created this snowball effect in my life. And I know it does the same in yours when you do it. It starts out something so small. And it's hilarious because you could talk to people who would tell you that, listen, I had chest pain, right? And this chest pain, I began to Google my symptoms. And after I did that, it got worse. I start feeling worse. And now I feel like I'm having a heart attack, and it just becomes like this monster of something that could be just, torn tendon or overworked muscle or something like that. But then now you've created this whole scenario, and trust believe that the more you create these scenarios, your body's going to respond to those scenarios. So what I'm simply saying is that if you keep saying I'm having a heart attack, your body's going to say we're having a heart attack. If you keep saying I can't breathe, then your body is going to respond to we cannot breathe. Your brain and everything's going to go into high alert. We have a problem. This is not a dream. Something's really going on, because that's how powerful our thinking is. Do you hear me today? That's how powerful your thinking is. The Bible even says this in Proverbs 23:7. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Okay? So whatever we think, right? Whatever we think, whatever we believe, whatever we constantly say to ourselves, right? That's what we're gonna be. If you're walking around constantly saying, I'm broke, I'm broke, I'm broke, I have nothing. I have nothing. If you constantly saying that, I am a victim and I've been mistreated and I've been hurt, Then you're going to take the mindset of that. I'm not saying that things didn't happen to you. I'm not saying that your bank account is not in the negative. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if we keep screaming these things and telling ourselves these things, then our bodies and our minds and everything is going to work together to what confirm these things, to confirm these things for us. Your mind, your brain, okay? I'm not a neurologist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not any of those things. But I do know this, that our brains will create havoc where there's no havoc. Okay? That's exactly what anxiety does to people who suffer from anxiety. There's no fear. There's no real fear or danger there. There's nothing really happening. But because you have said, this is what's going on, there's a panic, there's a problem, your brain is going to create this havoc. It's going to go straight into what? Flight, right? And so then you're going to be able to now feel symptoms of someone who's in danger. You're going to have heart palpitations. You're going to have sweaty palms. Your vision, you will lose vision. Okay? You will clearly lose vision. It get blurry. I call it the disconnect. I call it the disconnect, you guys. It's not medical terminology, but I literally call it this disconnect where you no longer feel like you're present in that moment. It's like everything shuts down. Okay? People have you ever heard of anybody who've been so afraid that they couldn't move? Right? They was like stuck. I just heard about that today when someone shared with me that someone was so afraid, because danger was coming, right? And they were so afraid that they literally physically couldn't move, and somebody had to pull them out of the way and get them out of harm's way. Okay? So listen, it can happen. It can definitely happen. It's a real scenario. It's a real situation. Okay? And so once again, it just proves that our bodies are going to show us what we've been thinking. Our bodies is going to confirm what we've been saying. So what are you going to say in 2023? What are we going to say in 2023? Are we going to tell ourselves that, we can't overcome this? This is not the end. I'm just getting started. I can make it. I can take it. I can handle this. I did a good message on that before, reminding you that you can make it, that you can handle it, that, if God allowed this thing to come into your life, come into my life, that regardless of what we think, we can handle it. There are so many moments, and I'm going to be summing this up, but there are so many moments in my life that I would have told you that this is it. There is no way in the world I can handle this. There's no way in the world I can see another day after this. This is it. Just take me out. I'm done. But there is something in the design of man that God created that when we think that we cannot take any more, that this is it, right? I believe it's just grace. It kicks in and it gives us the strength and the capacity. That's the word. The capacity to continue to hold more than what we thought we can hold. According to me, I would have said I'm just very weak, vulnerable, person that was not able, to handle the things that I've handled. But God sees me different. God sees you different. So things that we think that we cannot do, He said, "Oh, I got that and so much more." And before I close out, let me say something else because I want to encourage you as we begin our 2023 podcast. This is for somebody because it was for me. Okay? Hear me very clearly. Some things we are fighting for and we're, begging for, it is literally less than what God wants to give to you. Less than what God wanted to give to me. There are some things in my life that I was so angry, so frustrated about because I felt like I was being mistreated and pushed aside and disrespected, because it just didn't seem right. But what I'm learning is that I'm trying to fight for something that is literally an ant compared to what God has for me. It's the size of an ant. Do you hear me? compared to what God has. So I don't want you to get stuck in your life filled with bitterness, filled with anger, with people, situations, circumstances, your job, your employers, and your own family members, or whatever it is. I don't want you to get so frustrated and angry and stressed out that you miss, something greater for you, something greater for you. And so don't focus on the no's. Don't focus on the rejection. Understand that if it's a no, if it's a rejection, that means greater is coming. Can we say that? Can we believe that? I know you think, oh, this is just something that people say to encourage people. No, I know from experience, it's greater coming. While you're sitting there waiting on that, opportunity and mad about it, you're missing the greater picture. You're missing the greater opportunity that is there for you. When you decide to make up in your mind that I'm going to trust this journey and I'm going to trust this process regardless of what it feels like, regardless of what it looks like, I believe God has his hand on this journey and I'm going to follow this. I'm not going to worry about the no's. I'm not going to worry about the rejection because that's mean it's not for me. It's not for me. It's not what I'm supposed to have. So let me not cry over this. Let me not get mad over this. Let me not be angry over this. Because for me to do that is for me to say that I don't trust this process. Nobody can withhold anything from you or me. Nobody can. Even if they think that they are, I show you, you'll never get, anywhere. You'll never get another job. You'll never get a promotion. They think they're hurting you, right? You'll never amount to anything. They don't have that power over you unless you give it to them. If you believe that, then it will become a truth for you because we already know the power of our thinking, right? If you believe it, then there you go. But if you do not receive and believe that, it has no power over you because man does not have true power over anybody. You can find the most freest person in prison, okay? The freest person could be in prison, okay? So understand that we have the power, we have the authority over our lives, thinking, process. A lot of people, I just can't help. But yes, you can. It's a gateway to get in and out. You're in charge over what comes in your mind, your spirit. You're receiving these things, you're accepting these things, and you're entertaining these things. Cut it off. Cut it off. Do whatever is necessary to ensure that this no longer has access to you because you deserve better. Listen, it has always, as always, been my honor and my pleasure to be able to come on here and share some tips and some tools with you to assist you in becoming a better you. This is Michelle Cook Hall. You guys know once I get started, that is a wrap. So I just love you guys. I appreciate you guys and wishing you all the best in 2023 as we do this together, as we have been doing for several years. Praise God. And we will continue to do. Looking forward to reaching out with you guys again. Coming up January the 31st, which is just a couple of days from here, we will have a guest. We will have a special guest. Her name is Heather Robinson. She's an entrepreneur. For those who are interested in becoming authors, writers, you don't know what to do, she's going to share it with us because she can help you in this area. So please stay tuned as I will release another podcast on January 31st. Love you guys. Remember, I love you always, but most importantly, God loves you more. God bless.